To route a packet across the internet or a delivery truck across a city, you have to solve the single source shortest path problem. It is the mathematical operation that calculates the absolute most efficient route from one node to every other node in a network. Since 1959, the standard for solving this on graphs with non-negative weights has been Dijkstra's algorithm. But Dijkstra's algorithm has a strict mathematical limit. It operates at a maximum efficiency of big O of m plus n log n. For decades, computer scientists worked under the assumption that this runtime was the definitive theoretical floor for the problem. Then, a 2025 paper by Duan, Mao, Xu, and Yin won the Best Paper Award at the Symposium on Theory of Computing. It introduced the Bounded Multi-Source Shortest Path Algorithm, or BMSSP. This plot maps algorithmic runtimes against graph size. You can see the standard n log n trajectory of Dijkstra's algorithm. Below it is the new BMSSP curve, which flattens out at big O of m times log to the 2/3 n. On sparse directed graphs, BMSSP is mathematically faster, breaking a sorting limit that stood for over 60 years. This creates a strange paradox. BMSSP is a brilliant, mathematically flawless proof, yet it perfectly demonstrates why software engineers rarely trust asymptotic theory when writing code for physical hardware. Dijkstra's algorithm maps a network by expanding an active frontier of unexplored nodes. It stores these pending nodes inside a data structure called a priority queue. A priority queue strictly enforces a total ordering. Every single node must be ranked by its exact distance from the starting point. This precision carries a computational cost of log n. Every time the algorithm discovers a new connection, it has to scan the global heap and resort the entire tree to slot the new node into its exact mathematical position. In a massive, highly connected graph, this active frontier expands rapidly. The queue bloats, storing thousands or even millions of pending nodes. Maintaining total global order over that massive frontier forces the processor to spend more time sorting data than actually finding the route. Bypassing that global heap is the only mathematical path to beating Dijkstra. BMSSP attacks this constraint with bounded search. It sets a maximum distance boundary, designated as B, isolating a small local cluster of nodes to solve independently. If the algorithm simply explored this bounded area normally, it would still generate a massive local queue and incur the exact same sorting penalties. To prevent this, BMSSP deploys a subroutine called find pivots, its primary weapon for aggressively shrinking the active frontier volume. The routine scans the cluster for heavy vertices with at least k descendants. These are the pivots. Next, localized Bellman-Ford updates push distance data outward from these pivots. This quickly verifies the local network, letting BMSSP completely delete non-pivot nodes from the active frontier. The queue is reduced to a sparse skeleton of pivot nodes. By isolating subproblems and mathematically pruning a frontier, BMSSP prevents the queue from ever growing large enough to require an n log n sort. To process the entire network, BMSSP recursively fractures the original routing problem into 2 to the t progressively smaller bounded subproblems. To manage these subproblems, the researchers discarded the global priority queue entirely and invented a specialized data structure called the block list. A block list is a flat array of sequential buckets. The algorithm enforces numerical sorting between the buckets, but allows the data elements inside a specific bucket to remain completely unordered. Tolerating this localized disorder drops the per-node processing cost from log n down to a mere log k. By trading total global precision for recursive bounded approximations, BMSSP identifies a way to lower the runtime complexity of a problem that had seen no such improvement since 1959. In 2026, researchers Castro, Clementino, and Rodriguez compiled BMSSP into C++ to test this theoretical proof against physical hardware. They ran the algorithm through sparse random graphs, uniform grids, and massive models of the U.S. road network containing up to 10 million vertices. This chart plots physical execution time against network size from that study. The results are definitive. Despite a superior big O notation, BMSSP was universally crushed, with the Dijkstra line remaining flatly below it. Across all tested topologies and scales, Dijkstra's algorithm remained consistently 3 to 4 times faster than BMSSP. An algorithm proven mathematically faster on paper completely collapsed when compiled into binary and executed on physical silicon. Asymptotic big O notation intentionally ignores constant factors, the invisible hardware execution penalties, represented algebraically as C1 and C2. BMSSP incurs a massive memory penalty. The algorithm requires the allocation of massive direct address tables at every single level of its recursive fracturing. Furthermore, BMSSP destroys CPU cache efficiency. Its continuous recursive jumps and scattered blocklist lookups force the processor to violently thrash between fragmented memory addresses, whereas Dijkstra smoothly scans contiguous arrays. Physical memory architectures ruthlessly punish this recursive fragmentation, generating constant factor multipliers so large they completely overwhelm the algorithm's theoretical efficiency. If we re-examine the algebraic equation comparing the runtimes of the two algorithms and factor that massive hardware penalty, C2, back into the BMSSP numerator, the math shifts. To overcome this hardware tax, the variable n, the total number of vertices in the graph, must scale astronomically to dilute the constant overhead. Looking at this expanded logarithmic plot, we can calculate the exact intersection point from the Castro study. For BMSSP to outpace Dijkstra by even a single millisecond, the graph must contain approximately 10 to the 67th vertices. 10 to the 67th is a volume of data so fast it is physically impossible to represent within the atomic limits of current computing architecture. Big O notation describes a flawless, theoretical infinity. Software engineers, however, must build and optimize for the unforgiving physical constraints of reality.